have a digital health leader who's been a digital health leader for a long time and is really been around the ecosystem and understands it as well as anyone. And she heads up digital transformation for Novo Nordisk US, and we've had the incredible honor to be working with her. She's a member of the Women's Health Tech Initiative Board, and she's led a number of major digital initiatives across diabetes and certainly digital health and healthcare in general around the US for nearly 2 decades now. Amy, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure, and it is always great to see you, Stan. So thanks for the opportunity to chat today.
It's fantastic, and really appreciate your shared perspective as well, and your just the tremendous expertise that you bring to the ecosystem. For the audience that doesn't know who you are, and again, I would recommend everyone reach out and connect with Amy. You'll see her LinkedIn pop into the chat box in a minute here. But if you could just let folks know what do you do, and talk a little bit about your role in Novo.
Sure, thank you. So Amy West, I've been in the pharma industry for over 25 years, primarily in the commercial space across a number of therapeutic areas, including diabetes and metabolic disease, neuroscience, and men's and women's health, as well as others, all pretty much with a heavy focus on customer engagement and experience. I've been with Novo Nordisk the past 14 years, where I'm currently leading our US digital transformation and innovation team. It's in essence an internal incubator. We have a lab called the APIS Lab, where we're focused on long-term and future needs related to healthcare and how can we transform how people experience healthcare through disruptive innovation, which could be digital technology or data, but it also could be a low-tech, high-tech intervention. Low-tech, high-touch intervention, because it's all, I guess it's sort of the big innovation idea. But our starting point with everything that we do is the customer's problem to solve. We really strive to put ourselves in their shoes and understand their problems and root cause pain points that are preventing them from having a good health outcome. And then we test different potential solutions through our agile lab experimentation framework to identify these novel solutions. Again, could be technology or could be a high touch intervention that will address those pain points and deliver the shared value for the individual as well as the business. And on a personal note, I am very passionate about the patient side of the healthcare equation, and in particular, women's health, because I am a woman and I, along with many of my family and friends, are women. And like so many of us, I am the chief medical officer of my own family and also that of my aging parents. So it's important that my general and mental health are optimized so that I can ensure theirs is as well. And I think it's just critically important that we innovate in this space in women's health so that we can ensure future generations will live healthier and better lives when we keep ourselves healthy.
Fantastic, and just tremendous in terms of what you heard Tricia San Diego talk about, the panini generation. It's not just a sandwich generation, it's actually a panini generation, because we're getting squished between taking care of our kids and taking care of our parents. And it sounds like that's what you do within your family as well.
I'm actually at my mom's house right now. I came down yesterday, and she's 86 and doing great, but she has some health issues. And again, I think part of being an aging individual as well as being a woman, she needs help with intervention and support. And so that's actually what I'm going to be here doing over the course of the next week or so.
Good for you. That's fantastic. And talk a little bit about your role in Women's Health Tech Initiative and being on the board there, and how that's helped you frame perspectives and connect with folks like Tricia San Diego and AARP Innovation Lab, things like that. And tell the audience a little bit about what that means to you and how that's helped you.
Sure. So I have to say it's been a sincere pleasure to be a part of this really smart and dedicated group of people and leaders that are advising in such a necessary and trailblazing initiative. So kudos to you all at the HITLAB, as well as all my colleagues on the board. It's really been great. And we are a group of leaders coming from different areas of healthcare. We come together on a quarterly basis to share our different perspectives on how we can support the HITLAB Women's Health Tech Vision, which is for women everywhere to live longer, healthier lives through innovative healthcare technology. And so we come together to focus on how can we accelerate the awareness and connection of entrepreneurs in the women's health tech area at different stages of maturity with investors and other stakeholders in the space at a global level, so that they can test and advance and potentially scale, these viable novel offerings that are going to make a huge difference in the world and deliver on the mission of the organization. And on a personal level, as being a part of this advisory board, I really appreciate getting to meet and network with others in the industry to understand their point of view and their approach to problem solving. Because what I do is all about problem solving. How do we identify and how do we solve for it? And let's take off, where we sit out of the equation. Let's understand who we're trying to serve and what their root cause pain point is in the healthcare space. And it's been really interesting to listen to the different approaches and considerations. But in some ways, more than anything else, it's having that empathetic and supportive sounding board, because driving change in this space is really hard. So it's nice to have others who understand the challenges as well as the opportunities and have the vision that others in your everyday world might not have or be able to do. So it really is refreshing and reinforcing of the work that we're looking to do.
That's great. And part of that, you mentioned that the need for being able to understand and certainly have more awareness about what's going on in the ecosystem and across the ecosystem. And when it comes to women's health and mental health specifically, why is it important to create awareness in these topics from what you've seen? And as much as everyone talks about these topics, and they are important, it seems like we need to create even more awareness. Like we're as much as we do talk about it, we're not talking about it enough. And why is it that it's important to talk about it more and raise awareness more?
Sure. I mean, through this forum, I'm sure that we're all aware that historically we have a health equity issue when it comes to women. And women and girls, are often encountering a lot of barriers to accessing adequate health care, which puts women at risk of well-being. And there are many examples we can look at, but just looking at rural versus urban living, women in rural areas tend to have worse outcomes. The healthcare professionals are more scarce there, which leads to a greater number of women being untreated or undiagnosed. Oftentimes, statistically, women in rural areas are underinsured. They have limited financial resources, and again, have less access to even not just general, but specialized care. So these disparities, continue to exist despite, as you said, Stan, there's a lot of awareness going on, but, and there's a lot of mitigating factors as, public awareness initiatives and projects, but more needs to be done. The conversation needs to be kept open. And this is also where things like digital and technology and femtech are really important, because they're going to provide a means and modality to be able to deliver that easier, more efficient access in the example of these rural areas, to create more health equity and reduce, undue burden on the healthcare system, and help people have a better quality of life when they've been in situations where they haven't been able to access or get the diagnosis that they need. And again, ultimately reduce that gender and even race disparity that we have that is currently plaguing our healthcare system.
Yeah, and that's certainly it's just extraordinary to see what the gaps are right now, and everyone's aware of the U.S. rank right now in maternal care, and in 38th, and these sorts of things are just unbelievable. I mean, even in this day and age, and when it comes to being not just aware of an issue, but taking that next step and becoming an advocate for women's health. Why is that important, and what do you recommend people do in getting involved in that level?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of things you can do depending on your sort of area of interest or focus. If if you're looking to invest in femtech, there are a lot of venture funds that are available out there to look at and invest in or participate in. I think it's a good starting point to get to know the landscape. There are a lot of good sources out there. I think what HITLAB has available is a really good resource to look into. I also like to personally like Rock Health as a source of benchmarking and landscape analysis. They have a heavy focus in women's health as well. Get to know who the players are, what the opportunities are. Reach out. You reach out, they will get back to you. And then there's also things you can do, like if you're interested in public policy, there are a lot of advocacy groups out there. You can simply do a Google search. There's a great way to do that. I'm a big proponent of act locally. Again, thinking about the problem solving, it's about get to know what's going on in your community. Where are the gaps and disparities, and how can you get involved there? There are a lot of volunteer efforts or opportunities. There are a lot of ways to kind of understand. Again, there could be problems, but what are the root cause problems? And the way to do that is really embed yourself and really take action. And so I think that's another great way to sort of get involved and start to see how you can be, play a role in being a solution, for the challenges out there. And of course, there are, obviously a lot of active players in the space that you can follow or join or become a part of. I've actually recently connected with and engaged with a small startup called Ada Rose, ADAROSE, which is all about a lot of health and mental wellness for very busy people. It isn't just for women. They do have specialized resources for women. There's some great blogs out there. Live Happy, paying attention to those and getting involved there. And then just the general social listening, listening to what's the word on social media and who's saying what, and what's the tone and tenor of the different conversations, just to kind of keep yourself on the pulse of the themes that are out there and the challenges. And that also goes to support insight into understanding the root cause pain points.
That's amazing. Any parting thoughts, Amy? I mean, you're just a wealth of information for our audience, and really appreciate everything that you're bringing to the community. Any final thoughts before we sign off?
No, just to say, this is such an exciting space, and it's really nice to see a focus on women's health. I'm feeling a lot of pain these days, just, dealing with some things with my mom, who's just an amazing person, and I hate to see her have to struggle with the system. And I think it's also a really interesting example of someone who is not a digital native and is not comfortable with technology. We have to really embrace these solutions that might be technologically fed, but the actual engagement with the individual is a very high touch type of human approach. So we can't lose sight of the human interaction in light of the digital and technology and data and all the shiny objects that go with that. So we just have to remember we're human beings at the end of the day, and a lot of people want to still be connected in that way. So just keep that in mind.